Well, thank you all for being here for the Fairmont State presentation. This has been put together by a lot of people on our team, but I'm going to just give full disclosure that we haven't practiced it together yet. So I'm starting us out, and just much like Marshall, we're going to turn it straight over to our students, Samantha O'Brien, to lead us off with content about it. Next slide, happen.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha O'Brien. I'm a senior chemistry major getting a minor in forensic science. So on this slide, we asked the question to our first two campus club members, what being a part of First Two means to them. And as you can see, there were some varied responses, but the key points in most of them were the mentoring, community, sense of connection, developing themselves professionally, building a support system, feeling welcomed. So it was more, I think the takeaway from this is the connections and just the chance for the underrepresented to get experience to develop themselves professionally, and has been very important in our campus club. Next slide, please, Erica. So what are we proud of around our Fairmont First Two Club? We currently have 15 members. We have multiple faculty and staff allies that are very active with our First Two Club. The evolution in organization and meaningfulness as the students figure out where they stand and what they want to accomplish with First Two. We're also proud of the club members taking part in extracurriculars that help others with conferences, events on campus, and recruiting events. And our meetings have a casual structure that allow the students to relax and focus more on building a support system with each other. But then we do go into official meetings and record minutes and things like that when we need to handle official club business or address any concerns or problems that the students are facing. Next slide, please. So this year I was a sort of like built-in tutor for analytical chemistry. I would sit in on the course. I attended lab with the students, and I was available 24/7, giving them access at any time, day or night, to a tutor without needing to set an appointment. And it gave them a chance to, a lot of the feedback that I worked on were helping them with lab reports, how to format them, building equations in Word, error calculations, and things like that. I also offered pre-exam study sessions every week that had a good turnout to each of them. And of course, they could also get homework help or any questions or concerns they had. Sometimes that was even with, personal life issues if they needed it. But what we found was it did help with the retention. Now on the graph on the left, these are going by the 4th week, the bar in blue. I was unable to get data for the initial amount in courses, but we were still able to carry the full course from the 4th week through to finals week. And as you can see on the right, the composition of the Chem 2205 class, we had 57% of that class were first generation students, and 43% of the course were First Two members. So we did have a large portion of that class being the targeted audience that we were trying to reach with the First Two network. The students reported back at the end of the semester with good feedback that they enjoyed having someone in the class that they knew they could access at all hours of the time, especially since some of them worked, their schedules were crazy. A lot of them felt more confident going into the final exam after having the weekly study sessions and everything. So it did seem to help improve with the course and the morale of the students in the course throughout the semester. And now I will turn it over to next person. Thank you.
I believe this is Dr. Roof.
Did I find the unmute button? Yes, I did. Apparently, no one's saying I'm on mute, but I could, and then you might think I'm on mute. So I'd like to start out saying I'm really proud of and really happy with the support and the collaboration and camaraderie that happens in the First Two Network. We're sort of fortunate on this campus that our president here, Dr. Myrna Martin, is also a first-gen college student. So she gives us a unique perspective in that. One of the things I'm interested in as an administrator is, okay, this is all, support is all great and good, but is it working? You know, what can we show with data that it's actually working? And we've discovered that our biggest problem with data is identifying who the first-gen students are, because that's a self-identifying thing. In May of 2021, we actually added a question to our application so we could capture that information through the application. And based on that, 46% of the people who actually answered the question said they were first gen. 574 of our first year students didn't answer the question, probably because they applied and were accepted and enrolled before we even had the question active on the application. Coming up this year, that question is active now, so we're gathering the data. If you go down to the bottom here and we look at our NESE survey from 2021, first year students report on that survey about 54%, plus or minus 5% first gen. Seniors about 60%, plus or minus 7%. So all in all, I think that I like that, and that all these numbers are pointing to the same number, about 46% or so, or 40 to 50% first gen students. Now the question will be identifying our current students so that we can actually start asking the interesting questions like how all these interventions are affecting them and improving their outcomes. And I'm probably speaking a little bit out of turn, but I'm hopeful if I can beat down the bureaucracy that we will get the question that we have on the application incorporated into our current students. You know, every year we ask them, update your emergency contact information, blah, 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 blah. And that's a required question. I'm hoping we can get a required question, are you first gen, yes or no, as a part of that process. And then we'll be able to gather that first gen information for all our current students. Then be able to answer some or ask some really interesting questions and answer them, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Steve. And now we're going to turn it over to Beth Thompson.
Hi, so the next few slides are going to talk about the Math Support Program at Fairmont State, which started in 2014. And actually, I was the initial coordinator for that, the boots on the ground individual who developed that and brought it to scale in a year, which means, just so everybody understands, what that means is currently at Fairmont State, any student, regardless of their test score, will be placed into the gateway course that they need for their major with embedded support. That embedded support has just-in-time tutoring, it has remediation, specialization. We go over essential study skills, which other groups have talked about, and lots of hands-on demonstrations, sort of math labs, for lack of a better way to say it. The courses are currently very small, capped at 18 students. And I could talk about this for a long time, but we just have a minimal amount of time on this slide. We no longer have any developmental remedial classes at Fairmont State. Instead, students immediately go into this embedded support model. Next slide. To give you all sort of just a taste of how, yeah, as Brittany said, I would love to talk to anybody about this. But anyway, just to give you all an idea of how many students at Fairmont State actually take our courses, you can see here. So 1430 is our college algebra that has embedded support. And that is our STEM majors, our engineering, technology, and aviation, as well as our business and education majors take that. And then our fundamental concepts is a quantitative literacy course that is predominantly our non-STEM majors and nursing majors that take that. And if you look on the left here, you can see that roughly this is data for this past semester, this fall semester. It was a 71-29% roughly. So roughly a 70-30 split for college algebra students that are in. So about 70% of our college algebra students are in support and 30% not. And then if you look at the quantitative literacy course, it's an 80-20 split. And because we're limited on time, I am going to turn it over to the next speaker.
Oh, so that would be me. What I think we wanted to talk about a little bit was the impact that the math support program had on other areas. So there are discussions about engineering technology department now redesigning their technical math course. It's an entry-level engineering math course and adopting the same model. We already have a freshman English that has adopted a similar model. It's called Accelerated English 1101. And purely it was designed after the successes that we had in the remedial math program. So they get an extra hour of class and they get 4 credits instead of the regular 3 credits. So they're not stuck in a remediation course for no credits. They actually get credit for doing the work. And now, most recently, I had the biology folks in our department approach me and say, you know, we eliminated the ACT science reasoning score and we are seeing a high DFW rate. Could we do something very similar? And so they are grappling right now with who to put in that, but it would be an additional hour of support for underprepared students, folks that may not know how to use Excel or do the basic lab procedures. Next slide. And then just the amount of participation that we've had in working groups and the whole first gen endeavor here on Fairmont State's campus. This is a summary slide of all of the folks that are involved in terms of ambassadors and faculty and staff and the number of presentations. So we're fully vested and very much this has become a part of our culture.
So I want to talk a few moments not even, about some of the PDSAs we do. So we do have the first 2 summer immersion. We did a virtual one in 2020 with coronavirus, and then skipped out on 2021. And then 2022, we are back to a full in-person immersion that is actually pairing up with a couple other summer camps, for lack of a better word. The Governor Honors Academy, I think they're going to do something with, and then another first gen student camp that's happening. So that is very exciting. Christy Henson is the faculty member in charge of the first 2 club. We also have mental health awareness that has been done, the math boot camp, Rock Your STEM major that Kayla and I worked on. Happy to talk to you guys about that. We've done like embedded student feedback. So that was something similar from WVU, and then we adapted it for Fairmont's campus. Erica and Nadira do peer teaching in their chem courses, and we also have the STEM Hub and STEM ambassadors. So lots of different PDSAs happening. For faculty in Fairmont, what does it mean for first 2? The big takeaway from students was connection, and that's actually very similar here. There's a lot of working with students. I'm happy to work with students, connecting with people across the state and how that informs what we can do in our role. And then the other thing is, wow, I wish I had had this as a student. So that's our big takeaway from faculty and staff is I get to connect and I wish I had had this as well.
Thank you so much, Brittany, and all who have presented. Our challenges slide was compiled jointly for students. From student perspective, there's a big concern about sustainability. Students are using First 2 funds to support themselves rather than having an outside job. And they're doing things like research and tutoring and work on behalf of the network. And so there's concern about how we can sustain that. For faculty and staff, a big issue, as Steve kind of alluded to, is knowing which students are first gen to be able to take appropriate supports. Now, given that half of our students are first gen, that probably means that whatever we do in our class will help our first gen students, but still there is a difference. And ensuring that students are aware of resources and also that faculty are aware of resources. We realized as we started talking about this that it's just an ongoing communication challenge. We've hit a wall in terms of lack of flexibility in our first year experience seminar. We'd really like to do that with our summer immersion programs, but there doesn't appear to be any flexibility there. And so we're really hoping that with administrative support and student discussion about that, we might be able to make some progress. And then very much back to Blue Ridges, pulled in different directions, meeting time conflicts. Time is always an issue. Common metrics are something that we're working on hard and would like to have that across the state. And this is something that we're not proud of, but we've had 4 meetings that the students have arranged with administrators, and they were either canceled or like the administrator forgot. And it's a place where we realized we could work on something, because how do you get that rescheduled? You know, whose lane is it to reschedule that? So that's something we feel like there's some easy solutions for, but it was good to just lay it out there. And communication from First 2 Network to the institution, and probably back the other direction too. And we wanted to just acknowledge the many, many administrators. This truly has deep administrative support and staff support at Fairmont State. And so faculty aren't even on this slide. This is all business office and administrators. And thank you, Brittany. Yeah, it's hard to lay out your challenges in front of everyone. And we, I think, have maybe a minute for questions or something. Is that